Welcome back to Straight Facts on Friday. Stafy in the house with me. Man like Lawless is here. How are you, gentlemen? You both well?
Good, mate. Good. Hyped for Sunday, man. And listen, Friday feeling good, my friend.
Yeah, good. Listen, I was telling him before we went live.
You hyped,
Stafy? Like I haven't been here for a while. So
are you hyped?
Good to be back.
You hyped? You hyped about Sunday?
Yeah, listen, Viva España. We'll get to that later, you know. But should be excited. Yeah, I'm excited for good football. Well, you didn't like that answer.
No, just you support an English football team, and you should be supporting England as a neutral, in my opinion. But there we go.
I support Kobbie Mainoo. If England win and Kobbie Mainoo picks up a medal, I'm okay with it.
In fairness, when England are not at Euros, and we haven't been to a couple in my lifetime, I've always picked the team with the most Man United or my favorite Man United players in, to be fair. So
that's how I usually do it.
Yeah,
I just want England to lose so I could just have a little dig at you guys. But if they win, listen, I'll be happy for the United guys, especially Mainoo. Listen, I can run an agenda that you guys didn't win an international trophy until Kobbie Mainoo burst on the scene. Come on. That's an easy agenda for me.
I will be here, and listen, I like Kobbie Mainoo, but it comes back your way, because if England don't win, then we rub it in. Oh, Kobbie Mainoo didn't win a trophy, and you can't gloat because you're gloating at your own players.
Find someone else to blame.
You're gloating at his own failure. So, but if England lose and you're celebrating Kobbie Mainoo's failure. You're like, he's going to be distraught. He's going to be upset, and you're laughing at him. You're gloating at him. That's on you, a young player at Man United. Shame on you, Stafy. Shame on you.
What is it? The squad is 23 players. There's about 21 players that don't play for United.
He's going to feel it, though. He's going to be upset. Kobbie Mainoo wants to win that, and he's going to be disappointed.
I'm the reason he's going to lose if he loses. I'll find someone else to blame.
Yeah. No, and I agree. I agree with Lawless. You are it, Stafy. You are the epicenter of the butterfly effect here. You.
We're blaming the whole loss on me. Listen, I have good news for you guys, though. Last time Rodri went into a final with his winning streak on the line, he lost. And who did he lose to? Against Kobbie Mainoo in the final. So I'm just telling you guys, listen, if you win, it's because of Mainoo. If you lose, I have to blame someone else. I've seen him boss Rodri in the FA Cup final. So if he can't boss him on the weekend, I'm blaming the other players.
This is why I'm not buying into the big, like, oh, how can England possibly beat Spain? Spain are too good. If Man United can beat Man City in a cup final, England can definitely beat Spain in a cup final.
We'll get to that. There's a lot to talk about. I'm sure we'll get into the game in detail.
Well, we're in it. We can stay in it now. We're in it now. We've started.
Right,
the first thing I wanted to throw out to you is I've had a lot of gooners, in fact, state that we're not going to have the ball against Spain. Therefore, Kobbie Mainoo should be dropped for Conor Gallagher to help us win the Euros. And for me, I think that opinion is shrouded in two things. Firstly, it's shrouded in either English or Man United hatred and almost trying to put out an agenda that is triggering to either fan base, more so Man United. Or secondly, you have not been watching Spain play at this tournament. Only one game have they had the lion's share of possession. That was against Georgia. In the others, they've had marginally more or less than their opponents, including when they played Italy. Italy had 3 to 4% more ball than them. By the way, the Swiss then dominated the Italians, who then England dominated the ball against. I think the idea that we're not going to have the ball, the only time we're going to have exponentially less possession than Spain is if we score a goal or two early and then sit back and try and counter. That's going to be it. But Kobbie Mainoo starting this final, Lawless, surely that has to happen.
Yeah, easily has to be starting. He's been one of England's most consistent players, and I don't think Kobbie Mainoo is this, if we're trying to be more defensive, I don't think he's this glaring hole like defensively in midfield. I think he can put a tackle in. We've seen him be able to quickly put a tackle in and start a counter attack. I think he's been out of the pairing of him and Rice. He's been much better, much more crucial than Rice. I think Rice, although defensively has been sort of solid, I think overall Mainoo's been much better than him. So any suggestion of dropping him, I think, is ridiculous. I don't know if it's because of his age, like you said, or if it's a Man United sort of hatred. but you can't take anything away. And if they do that, if Southgate dropped him and put Gallagher in, mate, oh my God, it would be full on meltdown online. You know what I mean? So, no, can't happen, man. He's deserves to play and start that final.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with you. Anyone who says that, I'm not gonna lie, they're just either doing it on purpose or they just have no idea what they're talking about. He's been England's best midfielder. And when I say best midfielder, there's a lot of midfielders that get praised for doing stuff that's outside of a midfielder's job, really. Like, listen, goals are important, but like, I don't really care if my midfielder gets me a goal, but he doesn't do what a midfielder is supposed to do, which is like control the ball, pass the ball around, make incisive passes, keep possession, stuff like that. And no one has done that better than Mainoo. And to take him out when you're about to play arguably the best midfield in the Euros from the beginning. Listen, they lost Pedri, but Deni Olmo's been amazing. Rodri's there. And Fabian Ruiz has been absolutely balling out. So this whole midfield is very good. They're all very good at the ball. They all keep the ball well. They all pass the ball well. They can all take on a man and beat a man. So they have so many qualities that I don't think there's one midfield three that England can put out that can match that midfield. Like, you try to nullify them in ways. And I agree. I actually don't mind the idea of Conor Gallagher starting. I really don't. Because I thought about it when the final was basically confirmed that it's England and Spain. And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Conor Gallagher actually did well twice this season. Or I think they played twice or three times against City. One of them in the cup, I believe. And he's done a very good job at like bothering Rodri. And if you can bother Rodri and not allow him to play his best game, that's not a bad game plan at all. It shouldn't be the whole game plan, but it's not the worst game plan. But I feel like the only reason people are saying Mainoo should be dropped is because when they look at the age of the players in the midfield, plus the aura, because I'm hearing some players should start because of aura, you know, they just look at it and they feel like, well, it's easier to tell Mainoo to sit on the bench than it is to tell Rice or a Bellingham, because Bellingham won't get benched. Bellingham won't. What was it? Was it the Turkey game that he wouldn't get subbed off, something like that? And then obviously Rice, a lot of people who try to bench Rice, they'll be like, are you crazy? I actually think if you bench Bellingham and play Gallagher, that's a better midfield. I genuinely do believe it. I think if you play Gallagher, Rice, and Mainoo against that Spain 3, that's a little bit better of a matchup. Because like, I'm looking at this game as like, all right, it's just the last game of the tournament. You're not really trying to play your best 11. You're trying to play the best 11 for this game. And when I look at the options that you have, if you put Gallagher to play instead of Bellingham and to be just that pest in the midfield that just disrupts everything Rodri does, and then you have Mainoo and Rice doing the same thing they've been doing all tournament, you have a better chance right there. You know, if you want to bring in Gallagher, that's who you need to take out. Because do I trust Bellingham to do what Gallagher could do, which is break up play and all that stuff? I don't think he will. I really don't think he will. So Mainoo should not be the one that's being benched at all. I'm being serious about it.
I agree with that logic. If the plan is to basically try and put Rodri on a leash and set Gallagher on him, it shouldn't be Kobbie Mainoo who is sacrificed for that. It's a Foden or it's a Bellingham potentially. And if it's going to be any of those two, I mean, it's a hard one because Foden was actually really good for 50, 60 minutes, I thought, in the semi-final, and then just he faded. But I think he faded because he worked so hard and was taken off. But I don't think Conor Gallagher will start. I think it's going to be the exact same team that started the semi-final, in my personal opinion. The only change I think that may happen is Luke Shaw in for Trippier.
I think Luke Shaw plays the whole game.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, he's been brought to the tournament. I mean, Luke Shaw was probably one of the biggest criticisms that Southgate got, especially when he didn't even train with the first team in the group stages. Imagine he starts and has a really good game and we win the Euros. It then looks like a masterstroke, an absolute masterstroke of a move. But yeah, I think that'll be the only change. I think it'll be Trippier for sure. Everything else is going to stay the same. And that Spanish midfield you mentioned, they have been impeccable in this tournament. But what I will say is when they came up against the Germans, they weren't as relentless in their attack as they were in other matches. They, in fact, when they were winning 1-0 with 20 minutes to go, they took Nico Williams and Yamal off. Now, maybe they've learned from that mistake. I think we're going to see something similar against England. Now, I'm hoping they're not leading against us. I'm not, and this is why they're going to have 80% of the ball. You need someone like Conor Gallagher to win it back for you. I don't think this Spanish will be as gung-ho, as attacking as we've seen in other games, because the one thing you'd say about England is we have packed a punch in this tournament when we've had opportunities. We haven't got a bad goal scoring record. We probably haven't created the abundance of chances we want, but that is because most teams have sat back against us and made it hard for us to break them down. And I think that's what I like about this game. The Spanish have been the best performing team thus far at the tournament, but every single team has been gettable. Every single team has leaked chances and opportunities, and England will create chances against the Spaniards. It's going to come down to who is the most clinical. And yes, sometimes you look at a game and go, do you know what? The midfield battle is what's going to win this game. I don't, unless one midfield has an absolute amazing 90 minutes, does 65% of the ball, and they keep breaking the lines and they keep winning possession back. But I see it being a little bit of I think both midfields will do well. And then when both midfields do well, it means both sides are going to create chances. And I think that's what's going to happen in this game. And it's going to come down to whether or not our front line or their front line,
I think, is the
most
wing
clinical
play
in front of goal. And yeah, and it might be the wingers. And I think that
which is technically right, because that is still your front line. But when you look at the wing play, that I think that's both teams' strengths and weaknesses. So when I look at the matchups, you got Spain matching up Leny Yoro and Nico Williams. Now you're trying to see who's the best one to do a job on Yoro. I'm sorry, I know people don't like Shaw, but if you want Trippier to start because you guys have a Shaw agenda, I'm telling you already, that's going to be easy money for Yoro. He'll destroy Trippier. And then you have on the other side, can Kyle Walker keep up with Nico Williams? Some people say yes, some people say no, but that's more of a close matchup than the other side. But then you go to the Spanish side, and I think this is when Southgate needs to be brave. That back line that Spain have, it's a complete mismatch when it comes to physicality, in my opinion. I look at their whole back line. You have Laporte, you have Nacho Fernandez, you have Cucurella, and you have Carvajal coming back. There's a very good mix of experience there, but they all lack pace, and they can be got at. And we've seen it in the beginning of the French game, because they were absolutely ripping them in the beginning of the game. And the one thing the French had was pace. Now, when you look at what England have, is Saka a good matchup this game against Cucurella? Absolutely. Saka should eat this game. Saka should absolutely go at Cucurella all game. If I'm an English fan, I'm fancying that matchup. The other side, unfortunately, you don't really play with a left winger. But if you did play an Anthony Gordon or whatever, you could get some change off Carvajal, because Carvajal is pretty old right now. Then you look at the center backs. And this is the question I wanted to ask you guys. That center back partnership, if you give him an Ollie Watkins is eating all game. I absolutely believe it. That back line has no pace to keep up with him. If you give him Kane, however, I don't think that's the right decision. And this is what I wanted to ask you guys. Would you guys drop Kane going into next game and play Ollie Watkins? Because I genuinely believe Ollie Watkins would be a better matchup for this game than Harry Kane. But the issue is Kane is the captain. No one wants to drop the captain. So would you make that decision if you're Southgate?
I've been calling to drop Kane for a while, and I just think he hasn't been affecting the game enough, especially going forward. Obviously, look, he won that contentious penalty, and I don't think it was as outrageous a penalty as some people make, but he just doesn't do enough over the course of the game for me, Harry Kane. So even though he's the captain and it is a big call, the result comes first. Winning is more important than hurting the captain's ego. Do you know what I mean? Going into it, I don't think not having the captain on the field is going to really impact and go, oh no, we haven't got this leadership and Kane's dropped. It's going to, mess with their heads. So I think you just got to put, I would easily put Watkins over Kane. I think that would be such a bigger impact. We've seen it before, like, look at Spurs in the Champions League final when they played Kane. Poch played Kane and there was calls for him to not play. And he just did it because it's Kane and they ended up losing. Sorry. Make the big calls. Southgate's got to show he's got some balls. If he really wants this, if he's really serious, drop Kane, unless he magically just transforms into a player that we haven't seen in this tournament on Sunday.
Could I throw it the other way around as well, though? I agree with a lot of what you said. Kane hasn't been as impactful in this tournament as I wanted him to be, but I still think If he scores a goal in the final, I think he may end up being the Golden Boot winner. He still scored goals, you know, and he scored 2 goals in the knockout stages, which, you know, very few English players have actually done in the last 30 or 40 years. But I do agree that his general play has not been up to scratch. And I do agree that some more pacing behind could make us more dangerous. But we all believe in sort of meritocracy and not changing a winning team. And this England team has got to the final. I feel as though, you know, when Pep's won a lot of things, but there's times where he's gone into finals and we've gone, why have you galaxy brained it? Poch did this at Spurs. He's gone into finals and you've gone, why did you do that? How are you not picking Lucas Moura? And I almost feel part of me wants to say yes to dropping Kane, but then there's this little voice in the back of my head that says, you can't change this winning team. Doing it now, saying Watkins, you're actually getting your start and your first start of the tournament in the final. It's almost like you're putting too much pressure upon him. Maybe you're unsettling the team. Part of me, I've got a bad gut feeling about doing it, even though I understand the logic. Does that make sense? I'm not even saying it's illogical. I've just got a bad gut feeling about doing it. And one thing about Watkins being on the bench, and you bring him on against tired defenders at 60, 65 minutes, he could be even more impactful. The only fear is you're 3-0 down after 65 minutes and you're out of the game. So there is also that. What I loved about England tournament, and I think we've been too late with the subs sometimes, is the firepower we have on that bench. I think is better than any other nation at this tournament.
You do have good option of the bench.
That element makes me really excited. But I get everything you both said. But I'd be too nervous to drop him if I was the manager. There's something about dropping him don't feel right to me, and I can't quite articulate what it is. But it's, you know, when you go out and you think you might have left the oven on, or did I unplug the iron? That's how I feel about it. I've got like a nagging pain in the back of my mind about dropping Harry Kane.
He has to be ready to sub him off quick time then. Like if he's going to start,
I agree.
We don't want to wait too late. Do you know what I mean? And then you give Watkins like 15 minutes to come and try and score a winner. Like if he's not impacting the game and we're seeing the same thing from Kane, he's not getting into the box, he's not making runs, he's playing too deep. Same thing we've seen.
But he won't do that, Lawless. We already know that. Like, don't say if he doesn't make runs. We already know he won't make runs.
Okay, when he doesn't do all of that.
It's not going to change all of a sudden in the final. We've seen it all tournament. I will say, though, now that I'm playing devil's advocate, I love this. Maybe I should be in the middle. I should be the host today. Because now it's 2 English fans, and I'm just throwing these questions at you guys.
Yeah, usually it's me being the one non-Man United fan in between 2 Man United fans. Now it's reversed.
Now the roles are reversed. But here's the thing. So I will say, actually, there's one benefit of playing Kane, even though I just called I wouldn't say I called for. I asked if you guys would drop him. There's one benefit of playing Kane. Kane's dropping in the midfield will help against a Spanish team in terms of controlling the midfield a little bit more. Now, I don't like when he drops too much. Like, sometimes I see him picking up the ball off the center backs. I'm like, bro, what are you doing here? Just move up. You're not meant to be here. There's like 3 midfielders that could do the job that you're trying to do. But when you technically have a false 9, because that's how he tries to play, it means you have an extra midfielder. That does help you gain control in the midfield. And when you look at it, I did say earlier, there's no midfield 3 you can put out there that's going to match their midfield 3, because I just don't like the options that you have. However, if you do overflow that midfield and have a striker that drops in there, that does help with controlling a little bit more, because now you have more numbers in that midfield. So it helps your chances to win the ball, and it helps your chances to keep the ball. However, you're going to go back to the same issue again, is that when you do win the ball, unfortunately, you don't have runners that stretch out the pitch in the front line. Other than Saka, who could do it, who's not really his job, but he could technically do it. Unfortunately, on the other side, you're going to have Foden. And Foden is not really going to be able to play on the counter against Spain. So it's like, unfortunately, all these players that I'm saying you might have to drop, there is a pro and there is a con. Like, it's 50-50. Like, that's why I understand why people want to keep Kane and why people want to drop Kane. Why people want to play Gallagher and why people don't want to play Gallagher. So it is a tough one. I'm not going to lie. This is why this final is going to be very interesting. And I think this game is going to be won by the subs and the changes in the game. Because I feel like no one coming out with both teams is going to be good enough to win. Like, I don't think it's going to be one of those games where someone scores early and dominates the game. It might come down to who makes the right changes and what time you make these changes and what are these changes. You know, so it's going to be an interesting game to watch. I'm not going to lie. Excited for it.
Yeah, I agree. There's no foregone conclusion. I think Spain you would have to say are the favourites. And I think that's fair with how they've performed over the course of this tournament compared to England. But I will say, I think we're the best team Spain have played. And Spain are definitely going to be the best team that we have played so far. But I don't think this is a foregone conclusion. I don't see any team winning it comfortably 2-0 or anyone getting smashed, conceding 3 or 4 goals. I think it'll be cagey. I think both teams will score. I know what I want to happen. There's so many storylines I want to happen. The most important one is England winning. I want 58 years of hurt to go away. I want football to come home. It would be I know the English get a bad rep, but I keep the same energy for my own nation as I do for every other country in the world. I don't judge an entire nation upon the behavior of a small percentage. And I think that we're taught that from as very young children, as you don't, person A commits a crime, we're going to judge everybody that fits within a category of person A. No, that's wrong. I do the same with nations. And one thing I always find really distasteful is how you might have a few thousand English fans that act like absolute dickheads around the world over the course of a few years. And yet everybody for England gets sort of lumbered in with them and nobody wants us to win anything. And I just think to myself, I can kind of get you not wanting England to win for those idiot fans or a politician that you don't like or whatever it may be. But the vast majority of English people, like every other nation in the world, are good, wholesome, hardworking people, just as every other single nation has. And having been out here for the last few weeks, we haven't bumped into anyone, German or not, that has been disrespectful or rude. Oh, you're from England, I'm from here. We talk, we chat, we have fun. It is what it is. And, you know, I feel like dropping that. I'm loving the Scots and the Irish and the Welsh at the minute who are decorating the house in, you know, Spanish flags and everything else. And that's all a little bit of fun. And I kind of want to win it to laugh at them a little bit because it's friendly banter. I'd love Harry Kane to be the star, score some goals, to cement a legacy. I would love Saka to do it. What a story over the past 3 years since missing that decisive penalty. Very selfishly, I'd love Mainoo to be the star and score the winning goal. I just would. And as a West Ham fan, I know Lawless gets it. You know, it's a Jeff Hurst scoring the hat-trick in 66. You know, what that meant to the country, but what it meant to West Ham because he's a West Ham boy. There's loads of narratives that I want to play out. None of them are more important than England just winning the damn thing. I don't care how we win it, as long as we get it done. But the one thing I know is for sure, there's no foregone conclusion. I don't think England have got no chance. I'm not writing the Spanish off by any stretch of the imagination. We are witnessing something within the Spain team.
Do you think you're the underdogs, Terry?
Marginally, yes. So when I say, I get it, I'm saying marginally because I think they've been better than us at the tournament. But I'm saying marginal because this isn't Spain versus Austria in the final. England have got players that are between top class to world class in their team. So I don't think you could have the abundance of talent that we've got and say massive underdogs. If we win, it's not, I wouldn't call it an underdog story. Disney shouldn't be making a movie out of it. But in terms of on paper on the day, we're marginal underdogs to Spain. They are the slight favourites, in my opinion. And that's been based on the quality of football. The only part of me that wants to see Spain win is Yamal. And that's only because of the story. We've never seen a 16-year-old at a tournament be this good, this consistent, this impactful ever. And there is the football fan in me almost wants to see him play well, score the winning goal, and cement a legacy in the sport that has never been done before. Now, as an Englishman, I don't want that to happen in any way, shape, or form. But as a football fan, this is just unprecedented it's not even unprecedented in our times. It's never happened. No one's been able to show me an example of a 16-year-old going to a major tournament and being this good and this consistent. It's never happened before. So that's the element where I'd like the storyline where I'd like to see the Spanish win, because I just want to have witnessed that. But in reality, as an Englishman, I want him absolutely pocketed and I want him off after 55 minutes in tears asking for his mum. With respect, Yamal, that's what I want, because I don't want the Spaniards to win it. I want the English to bring it home. I want to be able to drive through Germany on my way home with 3 lines on the shirt, blaring out the speakers, holding this trophy with England's colours on it, I want to be able to drive through Germany as an Englishman doing that. And that would be just a dream. So I hope it happens. I really, really do. I really, really hope it happens.
Okay, so I feel like we didn't give the Spanish team as much respect. So let's talk about them slightly as well. I mean, what both of you guys, what are you looking I wouldn't say looking forward to, but what are you worried about the most when it comes to their team? Because they have a pretty good front line. Their midfield, obviously, we spoke about them. We spoke about their back line a little bit. How do you like if you're imagining a scenario where like, all right, this might cause us trouble? What is it? Like what do you fear the most from this team?
I mean, yeah, obviously, Yamal is a massive threat. We see Pickford. Pickford got a bit of stick, in a previous game for that shot from distance. We see Yamal do a different shot. Liverpool fans like to clown him, saying he's got little arms. So he's ability to save them kinds of shots and pull off for Yamal to pull off them kind of shots is going to be a threat. But yeah, Rodri is the main man for me to worry about. I think he can seriously run the show. He's probably one of the best in his position in the world, if not the best, top two. So that's the one. And like I said, with midfield for me, Rice just hasn't been, and I'm hoping like we see the best of Rice, because this Rice that we're seeing, that is not the Rice that Arsenal have seen. That's not the Rice West Ham have seen. So I want to see him at his best, and he'll need to be, with Rodri. So that's the main ones. Like I said, defensively, not so much, but attack is lethal.
I respect. Listen. I respect the Spain team massively. I'm not coming into this thinking, got this one. The midfielders you mentioned did amazing. I think Fabian Ruiz is a shout for player of the tournament. Nico Williams is a shout. Rodri's a shout. Yamal's a shout. As much as we don't rate him at club level, I am not going to sit here and say anything disrespectful about Morata, because he's the type of striker that if you say, I'm not scared of him, we'll score a brace, because the football gods don't like that kind of talk. This Spanish team are dangerous. The Spanish team are beyond capable of beating England. The fans in recent years have won major trophies. So when it comes to handling that pressure in the stadium and what energy seeps into that dressing room, it's going to be one of a far more relaxed state than England, who are 58 years without a trophy, who lost the last final that we were in, who have never played a final on foreign soil. And I think all of these things is why I have Spain as the favorite for this game. They've been the best team. They're probably the best performing players as a collective. Recent successes, the fans know how to handle it. They've played in finals on foreign soil before and won. So when you factor in all those things, it's why I have them as the favorites. And of course, we're going to as an Englishman, I'll speak more about England and the what ifs, but I don't want anybody to misconstrue that as disrespect for this Spanish team, because they have been excellent at this tournament. And if I'm taking my England hat off, them not winning may feel like a little bit of an injustice, because you could argue they've been the best team over the course of this tournament so far. But the best team doesn't always win. And we've seen that in the Champions League. We've seen it with FA Cups. We've seen it with the only time where I don't think that's true is league football, because it's 30 games over 10 months. And
it's knockout football. Yeah, I understand.
It's knockout football is different. So I've got a huge amount of respect for this Spanish team, and it's we talked a lot of Spain. I was out and about during their semi-final and said congratulations to them, and sort of asked a few of them, who do you want in the final? And a lot of them said the Dutch. They said they'd much rather the Dutch than the English, because they fear the English more, and that was off camera, face-to-face, normal conversation. So I think they've got respect for the English in reality, and I think the English fans have got respect for the Spanish team, which is why I think it's going to be a party atmosphere on Sunday here in Germany. I think it's going to be a very good game of football as well. I think it's going to be very, very good, cagey at times, open in others, and I'm excited. And I just hope that England can beat them by hook or by crook. I hope we can beat the Spanish side, because they're a very, very, very well accomplished team.
It worries me. It's the best we've seen of England is usually after we've gone behind. The other team have scored, England's gone behind. And I just don't know whether we can afford to go behind against this Spain team.
You have the most comebacks from 1-0 in Euros history. I didn't even know that.
In Euros history. Oh, I didn't know that.
I think you guys came back about 8 times, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So that's a madness.
I need to look at the stat again, but you guys had the most, something like that. Either most consecutive or the most in general. One of those two stats. I might be wrong.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I'm hoping, like I said, because I feel like this is a team that you don't want to go behind to start playing. England need to start from the first whistle. So that's my concern based on what we've seen. This is by far the biggest test all tournament.
I think it might help you guys that you're going into this game not favorites. I think what did you bad in the last Euros, that expectations were on you. You were better than Italy. You were at home. The whole world thought you were going to win. You went up 1-0, and I felt like the pressure, you guys just couldn't keep up with it. And most of your players were they just crumbled under pressure. Whereas this time, I don't know. Like I hate to say it because I know. Listen, we already talked about this. I want you guys to lose as a bit of a banter, but I could admit that I look at this team and I'm like, this team's a little bit hard to beat. This team could kind of come back. They could face adversity. They could deal with it a little bit better because there's a little bit more experience than the last one. I'm looking at Saka. He's a better player and more experienced player than the last few years. Obviously, Bellingham listen, I feel like he's overhyped, but at least he has the personality to, like, when there's adversity, could deal with it. There's a lot of experience around the pitch, and most of these players have played together for a while. So I'm looking at him like,
and even when you think of Mainoo, the least do it. Well, when you think of Mainoo, he's the least experienced. In his first season, he got the man of the match in an FA Cup final against the best team in the world, and scored the winning goal in it, and that helped. Rice,
he has identical stats to Rodri this tournament, by the way.
It's great.
Passing percentages, everything.
It's crazy.
Rodri are identical.
You've got Rice, who captained West Ham to a European trophy. You've got the City boys who have done what they've done, including trebles, as an example. Every single
Owen, you scored the winner in the European final. I'm just saying that if we're talking about people coming
Bowden, so there is that, and that's why, as I say, we asked if we'd have performed better at this tournament in terms of overall play. I would probably say favourites within England, but Spain in this tournament have just been better than we have, and I can't ignore that. But and like you said with Bellingham, what Bellingham has learnt this year at Real Madrid, and I think that sort of inevitability is there with him. Doesn't mean it always comes to fruition, because no one wins every single game, but that's why I can't buy into this England of no, England will lose. I just don't think you can say that with any certainty off the cuff. You may not being right, but you're just dismissing England's crazy. The same, if I see any English fans dismissing the Spaniards, I want to slap them around the face, metaphorically speaking, of course, because you're just tempting the football gods here. Have respect for each other. Shane here, who's I assume he's from Ireland because he's called Shane and he has an Irish tricolour. But he said the women bring football home already, Terry. Yes, they did in the women's sport. But let me give you an example. Just because Andy Murray was the first male British tennis player to win a Grand Slam since Fred Perry in, I think, 1935 or 36. Just because he was the first male to do it didn't mean I didn't celebrate like mad when Emma Raducanu was the first female since Virginia Wade in 1977 to do it for the women. Because although it's the same sport, it's a different category of that sport. So the women did what they did, and I celebrated that, and I congratulated them. This is the men's team that I now want to bring it home. And no matter how much success the women's team have, it does not stop my pain of England's men's team not winning anything in 58 years. If Man United hadn't won the FA Cup final, I wouldn't have felt better just because the women's team won their FA Cup final. I was happy they won theirs, but they're isolated emotions. The women's team's success cannot make me feel better about the men failing, and vice versa. The men start winning and the women's team goes backwards. I'm not going to go, it's okay because the men are doing well. I want them both to be successful. So, and obviously we're specifically talking about the men's team. I don't think we need to specify when we're talking because everybody knows it. Look up Rice's numbers for these Euros. You're going to be surprised how crucial he has been. I mean, look, defensively, he has been very good, barring that, sort of relative mistake he made in the last game, but he recovered. Like Rice has done Rice things in this tournament, in my opinion. He's done Rice things. He isn't Mainoo. He isn't going to do what Mainoo does because they're different types of players. But yeah, defensively, I don't really think Rice is. Some people said he's had a bad tournament. I don't personally see that, if I'm being honest.
I just think he's slowed us down quite a bit. It's his passing. It's, you know, he's one of the England as a whole has been quite bad for sideways, backwards passing. He has been the worst for that. We're not seeing him drive with the ball as we have seen him do for West Ham, as we've seen him do for Arsenal. It is he's almost been like an extra centre back just in midfield. And I think that's the disappointment of just not impacting our attacks as much as we know he can. I know he's not one of the, you know, best attacking players in the world. He can't really take players on and hasn't got skills like that. But, you know, just being able to pick out some key passes, you know, being able to drive forward with the ball.
Would you say he's not a lone six?
Who, Rice? No, he can't. He's not. I wouldn't say that. But he can do more. Is what I'm saying.
Who would have thought?
But
who would have thought
he's best with a partner, but he can do more going forward, I think, than he's seen. And like I said, he's been a big sort of a big issue in terms of slowing the game down when he receives the ball and not being able to make some quick passes forward, out wide, you know, pinging balls over into the corners and things like that. It's just stop, look around. All right, I'll pass it back. Right.
In a progressive team, he's not a lone six. I got crucified all season for saying. And now in England, they're seeing it a little bit more. Because I did say he was a very good 8 for Arsenal. I feel like Arsenal's system covers a lot of his deficiencies, which is a big praise to Arteta for being able to use him the way that. When you see him, to be fair, there isn't a single lone six that could do a job for England, bar Wharton, but Wharton is pretty young, so I can't really judge him right now. But like there isn't anyone that can come in and do this job.
But this is the thing. There are a lot of Arsenal fans out there that can be critical, that I've seen say, yeah, this isn't Rice hasn't been up to the levels, and there are many that are just like, no, all our players are perfect. They don't have bad games, they don't have bad tournaments. You can't say that. Rice is the best ever. Like, that is what we'll see, and they'll argue. So it don't matter what you say. And I haven't even said he's been shit. I said, like, listen, yeah, defensively, he's done his thing, like, apart from the Netherlands game, but I want to see more from him affecting the attack. That's all. It's not ripping him to shreds to say that.
No, I hear it.
You know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. That's why I think overall, Mainoo has been better in the midfield.
We already established that, though.
Yeah. Well, we established that. I think, the Arsenal fans would disagree, but yeah. If I'm taking one to stand and you go, right, who's been the player of the tournament, and you was to put Rice or Mainoo, they're your options. Surely even some of the, you know, less delusional Arsenal fans would say Mainoo.
100%. Anyone who says the opposite, it's just the last game showed me how good this player was, because I saw big Twitter accounts that just sit there and troll everyone, all come together to praise Mainoo. And it was just very, very happy for me to see that. Because like a year ago, and Terry, you were there for it, they told us we can't rely on an 18-year-old at Man United. But then a year later, he's 19, and his country is relying on him in the midfield. So it's just very happy. But, like, if you invested in Mainoo stocks, you'd be very proud to see what he's doing.
I agree. I'll say this, though. I think it's about both of them. And this is the problem. Individuals are important in football, but it's a team sport. And I actually think Mainoo and Declan Rice together have made England, that as a partnership works really, really well. The issue that we've had, and it still happened in the semis, is that we're still imbalanced because of the likes of, you know, first of all, we had Foden out on the left with Trippier, so they were both inverting. There was no width. We've still got Trippier, which has made it harder for us. That's why I'm intrigued to see this final if Shaw comes back in, because for the first time in the whole tournament, there may actually be real, genuine balance to the team, and I think everybody would improve. I also think we can't disrespect some of our players by suddenly ignoring the manager whose tactics we've slagged off for 2 years. I think for me, that's where that's where I want to be really mindful. We can't pretend like Gareth Southgate is coaching and telling these players to play like Arteta asks the Arsenal players to play, or like even defending the City players. There's no way they're being coached and told to play like Pep has his teams playing. And the reason I want to stay consistent with that is that for years, the Man United players that played for England under Sir Alex, why are they doing for us what they did for Fergie? because we play shit football compared to Man United. We weren't playing the same brand of football. We would have been better off in that era of picking players from Bolton, the way England tried playing football back in the 90s, because they were more accustomed to that style of play. The reason why Spain did so well when they won all those trophies 15 or so years ago is they basically adopted the style of play that you saw predominantly at Barca, and the core was Barcelona players. If they'd have picked those Barcelona players and then gone, we're going to try and play like Valencia, they'd have been good, but it wouldn't have been as good. And I think that's where I'd defend them. But Mainoo, for me, I'm going to be honest with you, him and Gallagher have been England's 2 best players at this tournament, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind that they have been our best 2 players. But that isn't, I'm not saying that to knock anybody else down. And maybe it's because I am English and that's how I view it. I don't think Rice has had a bad tournament. I wouldn't go, oh, he's been a standout. He's been absolutely amazing, but I don't think he's been poor either. I think he's been good. I think he's had a good tournament.
He's been fine. He's been fine.
Yeah, he's been good. Yeah. Someone says, no, just Gallagher. But Gallagher, you could probably argue Gallagher's been the best player because he had more game time. But the fact that Mainoo wasn't picked for the first game, came on with a minute or so to go, I don't think he kicked a ball in the second game. Third game, he comes on a little bit earlier at half time because the manager realizes Conor Gallagher ain't that guy. And then once he was given a prolonged period of time on the pitch, Southgate has said it himself. He's been our best player since he's actually been given real game time and minutes. And he just has been.
I would have Saka over Gallagher, but maybe that's just bias towards attackers. Do you know what I mean? Because
I mean, Saka for me, I thought it was good in the Serbia game. Saka, for me, the longer this competition has gone on, and in the last match, I don't think he got GA, but he was just a constant threat, a constant thorn in the side. And I hope he does that this weekend.
Saka's versatility has helped you a lot this tournament.
Very true.
That one game where he played right wing back and left wing back just showed me why he's very important to his English. Because I rate Palmer over him, but I already know also that Palmer can't do what Saka did. Like, to have him play in multiple positions in one game like that, that's one thing you can't have Palmer do. And I rate Palmer over Saka, but I still got to give him respect for that. And this is why Saka's kind of undroppable for this team. He really isn't. Like, you can't drop him when he can do multiple things. Does he do one thing just like extremely well? Like, probably not. He's not the best in the world in like any of his attributes. He takes too many 7 out of 10s and 8 out of 10s, and this is why he's important. And I kind of hear your shout. And if I would put a top 3, I would throw Saka in there. Mainoo, Saka, and Gay for me. They've been the best 3 in pretty much everything that they've done this tournament. So I don't disagree with the shout.
Yeah, Saka has been good, and it's one of those things for me. Saka I know he missed a penalty, but I don't really look at penalties as letting people down. I've seen some of the greatest footballers in the hit. I've seen Lionel Messi miss so many penalties. So to say that missing a penalty is an indication of letting people down, I think is ridiculous. He doesn't let England down, Saka. He has been so good and so consistent for the last 3 to 4 years for England, probably more consistent than any other attacking player. You could argue that other than Harry Kane, Wayne Rooney probably play a part in that, but Saka has done it at every major tournament. Because he didn't really feature much in the Euros. He was coming into the team. He was a bench player and came in. He's been excellent, Saka. And again, I've got so much time for him. I almost don't care if people rate people better than him. He should start for England because he's never let us down. And that club mentality needs to exist at international level. And what I really liked in the last game is when Palmer came on and you had him and Palmer both operating in and around the right-hand side. It was a little bit like watching Saka and Odegaard. There was a really good link up between them. And all in the build up to this Euros, it was Palmer or Saka. Well, how about fucking both? How about both in the same team? Make that work. Because imagine you're over there on that right-hand side of the pitch as a midfielder, a centre-back, a left-back, and you're having to deal with those two. With Mainoo and Walker overlapping. Shut up, man. You know what? No footballer in the world wants that. No one does. So, yeah, look, I'm excited about this final. Predictions, Lawless, what you going with, my friend?
Oh, I'm going to say 2-1 England in extra time. No penalties. There can't be having no penalties. 2-1 extra time.
What's that, Steph?
I have to give a prediction? If it's not Mainoo scoring a winner, I don't care. But I think it's gonna be like 2-1 Spain.
2-1 Spain. So Mainoo will be crying that day. Your boy.
This is a prediction, Lawless.
Yeah. So
okay?
you predict that he's not gonna step up. You predict that he's not gonna have enough.
Man, and that's performance. It just won't be enough because his teammates will let him down.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm going to be
That's
very
the thing.
biased.
They'll lose. I don't know. It's not what I want anymore. I'm just saying it's my prediction.
Yeah. I'm going to be biased, and my prediction is based on what I want. And I'm not going to say what's going through my head. I'm going to put out what I want. And I'm going 2-2 at the end of extra time and England to win on penalties. I want to win on penalties. And I want to win on penalties because... But it's because of that pain. It's because in my life, I remember 1990. I remember 96. I remember 98. I remember 2006. I remember 2012. Penalties have hurt me so many times. This is just my wish. This is my wish. I want to win it. And if the football gods could grant me this, I'd love to win it on penalties. Hate them, agree. But I want to win it on penalties because it would just be... It would almost be, now I understood why the football gods put me through all that pain before to feel like this now. And yeah, that's how I 2-2 after extra time. 1-1 at 90 minutes.
We've got the best
2-2 90 minutes. We have. So yeah, I want to win it that way. I want to win it on pens. If I get to pick, if I of all people get to choose how England do it, on penalties. On penalties. Someone says copium. That's really not copium. That's not how copium works, my friend. Because I literally
2-2 and a penalty shootout is not the worst prediction in the world. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, there we go. Viewers, give us your predictions. Give us your predictions in the comments section below. Moving on from the final. Lots of transfer news surrounding Man United in the last few days, Stafy. Obviously, Zirkzee in. Thoughts on that?
Okay. Time to talk about United. I've been looking forward to this. Listen, I saw what some people said before the show started. Oh, Stafy's gonna find everything negative to say today. He's not gonna like anything. He's gonna complain about everything. Strap in, guys. Strap in. Get ready for this, because I'm actually about to praise United. Yes, we did some good business. Joshua Zirkzee. I like the signing. I like the player. I like the logistics around it. I like everything about it. I'll give it a 10 out of 10 signing in terms of how we operated everything. 42 million instead of paying the release clause, which is 40 mil, but doing installments over 3 years, which means it leaves you with more money now to use, obviously, towards more transfers. The profile of the player, who he is, his age, what he does on the pitch, completely different to Højlund. Which is something that we don't have. A hold-up player who's good on the ball, good dribbler, good passer, likes to drop and be effective on the pitch rather than just be a poacher. He's not that type of poacher. He's more of like a Firmino type of player than a poacher type of player. And it's something that we need. And listen, he played good under Mota last season. I know he didn't have that much GA. He only had like 12 goals and 3 assists. But I think when he comes into the Premier League with better quality, and you can argue he'll get better coaching now that we also have Van Nistelrooy as a part of this, as a part of the coaching squad and all that. You'll probably see improvements from him, and I like the signing. I think it's a signing that we needed. It's a good way to start our summer. We did dilly-dally for a long time trying to make this signing. We got it done pretty much quick. As soon as they got knocked out, the guy's in Manchester right now. They got knocked out, like 48 hours ago, 30 days ago? So it hasn't even been that long. So it's good business. I like what Ineos are doing, you know. I was skeptical when they re-signed Ten Hag. We all know that. But I had to put that behind me and just judge by what's going on. And listen, so far, so good. I like what they're doing. And I like all the other links. Obviously, we'll talk about that as well. The fact that we're getting business done quick while multitasking. I was saying this on my channel yesterday. I was saying Ineos have came to Manchester and they've introduced the Mannies to the idea of multitasking. You know, it seemed like in Manchester, they didn't know what multitasking is. We'd spend all summer just recruiting one player and one player only. And we try to sell one player only. It looked like we were moving like snails, basically, when it came to business. And finally, we're multitasking. One day we're linked to Braithwaite, we're getting rejected. The next day we're getting a bid accepted for Leny Yoro. All that while De Ligt is also being worked in the background. So we're doing well. We're doing well this summer. I like most of the links. I like how we're doing the business. And listen, Zirkzee, I'm very happy for the signing. So yeah,
do you know what's really interesting, Stafy? No, I agree, and I'm very much like your mindset. I don't agree with every little player or every little thing they do, but overall, I like what they're doing. So therefore, I'm not nitpicking. Does that make sense? I'm more okay. Well, let's see how this kind of comes to fruition. And I got a bit of stick from Ches and Don in the group chat the other day because I think I said on Tuesday on Straight Facts that I was really happy to see us working on multiple deals at the same time. Because United just haven't done that for a decade. And it was sort of like, oh, you're backing Ineos because they can get 2 deals done at once. And again, it's never as simplistic as that. But in essence, that's an area I'm impressed with. But it makes sense. If you're not a trained chef and there's 6 or 7 orders that are coming into your kitchen, you are going to you're going to make one dish at a time. And it's going to take ages for the entrees to come out. Some food's going to go cold because you don't have the ability to cook 4, 5, 6 dinners at once and delegate out to the sous chefs and run the kitchen. And that's what happens when you employ people with the right CVs. You can do this because, okay, listen, Wilcott, you're going to handle this one for us right now. Ashworth might be like, right, I'm going to take the charge over here. I'm going to delegate this out to you over here. And it means you can work on multiple business. When you've got accountants and bankers working on deals, they don't know what they're doing. They just don't know what they're doing. And they didn't even get better at it over time because they're just not trained. So that element's good. I like the signing of Zirkzee. You mentioned Leny Yoro. Now, I want to get your boys' opinion on this. I'm going to go to Lawless first. Do you think Man United are wrong to be chasing a player whose first choice is Real Madrid?
I mean, it's Real Madrid. Most players' first choice or dream will be to play for Real Madrid. They are the big, I know Man United to say, but I think it's like Real Madrid 1, Man United 2. Yeah, so look, if you can get him, if he said like, yeah, I'm not really interested in Man United and you're trying to convince him, then that's a problem. But if he's like, look, my dream is to play for Real Madrid. If you offer me something interested and I'm happy to join your project or believe in your project rather than trying to sign someone that ain't interested at all. So I don't think it's wrong. I do find it interesting to just on the Zirkzee thing is that even though you've moved towards head coach, director of football scenario, there still seems to be a preference towards Dutch players, even though it seems, what we're hearing that is taken away from Ten Hag. He's just coaching, they're building this team and this setup. There's still this seems to be a preference towards Dutch players. I don't know if they're still trying to work with him and get his perspective on transfers, but yeah, that's very interesting.
So our first option was actually, what's his name? Sesko. But he renewed. So then he was the second option, which is Zirkzee. And there's links that we actually want to go and try to get Ivan Toney as well. So he just so happens to be one of the people that were on the short list, and he's Dutch. So this is not a Ten Hag signing. Trust me, I would call it. If this was a Ten Hag signing, I'd be all over it right now, ranting all over this place. But he wasn't even our first option. So Sesko was our first option. Obviously, we all know that he renewed with his club, and we went for the second option, which I like that because it showed that we had a list. So when we have a list and you just go down the list and you get the first available one, it just shows that you actually are operating like correctly to your plan rather than a person's preference. Now I've seen people say De Ligt. De Ligt was recommended by Ineos to what's his name? To Ten Hag, because Todibo was our first option. Braithwaite was our second option. Because we're trying to get 2. So when I say first and second, just put in mind that we're trying to sign 2. And then obviously Leny Yoro and De Ligt. So De Ligt wasn't even like a top 3 option for us, So it just so happens that his situation is unique, where he's not getting enough minutes for his club. He's kind of on a little bit of a deal, I should say. Because last time, obviously, when the news broke out, I was a little bit pissed about it. I spent more time thinking about it. And when I see that Max Kilman is being priced at 40 million in Wolves, but then you can get De Ligt for 35, and you're still going to get another center back, it is not the worst thing in the world, is it? So, yeah.
I swear you weren't even rating De Ligt. Wait, why are you loving De Ligt now? I'm sure you was.
No, I'm not loving De Ligt. I'm saying I can kind of understand. Do you want me to stay?
Oh, now he's a bargain. Like now he's a bar after you was.
No, but they were asking for 50 to 60 mil, and I'm not trying to pay 50 or 60 mil for him, because I do generally believe that Maguire has had a better 4 or 5 years than him in the last 4 or 5 years. I genuinely do believe it, but I am saying, like, when you look at the situation, he is an option. And he is coming in on a bit of a cheap price. Like, yeah, I have to understand that for this market price right now, this is pretty much a good deal. You know, I said it's like a fire sale. You ever walk into a supermarket and you just see a crazy fire sale on something that you didn't want, and you're like, "Well, I didn't want it, but now that I'm seeing the prices very low today, fuck it, let me buy it." I didn't come in to buy a vacuum.
They say in life there's only 2 reasons you don't buy something: either you don't think you need it genuinely, hasn't been sold properly to you because you don't think you need it, or it's too expensive. And we've all been in the store where you want something, you're like, oh, it's too much money, though, I can't afford it. So you make up an excuse as to why you don't want it, or you're just like, got no need for it. So you haven't been sold it properly, or it's too expensive. So I get where Stafy's coming from. Is there too many Dutch players? Look, I think this is multifaceted. Toney, Leny Yoro, Branthwaite. Who else? There's another player we're linked to at the moment. Ugarte. There's lots of players on there, never played for Ten Hag, and they're not Dutch. So the vast majority of players on this list that we're bidding on negotiating with are not Dutch. We'll just put 2 new Dutch coaches in. And one thing that I like, and let me rephrase that, I hope they're doing, is they're saying, right, we are sticking with Ten Hag. Ten Hag did have a style of football that he coached that looked very good, that you could build a base from and grow from, with or without him. So I'm hoping they're now going, right, Ten Hag, we want you coaching the team and doing the drills with the team and doing the training with the team that you were doing at Ajax. I'm then fine with players like De Ligt, fine with players like Zirkzee and whoever they're signing, as long as, if in 3 years Ten Hag leaves, successful or not is irrelevant, as long as we stick to that base plan. And we go, right, now we're going to go to a pragmatist manager and have to revamp the squad again, because that's where we went wrong under the previous regime. That for me was always the issue, is that every manager wanted to rebuild the team and the club in his image, and we can't do that. So I'm not and the one thing where I would defend Ten Hag is, because I always said he should never have taken the job. If Ten Hag goes for a job interview and they say, we don't want you to play the way you played football at Ajax, I wouldn't have taken the job, because that's what you do, bruv. Like you can't. I think most managers, they have a style, and you've got a manager. I don't think this is the 80s and the 90s where there is that versatility. There isn't that much versatility within players anymore. I certainly don't think there's that much versatility within managers. There is a set way of doing it. So I'm intrigued to watch our opening few preseason games and then the season start, because what I'm hoping, and this is hope, you call it hopium, whatever you want. And the reason why I'm hopeful we're doing this is because so many of the other things we've said match this, but the club knows they need a club strategy and not a manager strategy. That the club knows that we need.
You know, Terry, that if it works out and it's a success, you know, a lot of fans like Stafy will be like, oh, it's Van Nistelrooy. Van Nistelrooy gets the credit. Ten Hag won't get credit. If this works out, they won't say, you know what? Yeah, he coached the team well, and this is what at least he got to focus and implement his style and what he wanted. It will be, oh yeah, it's Van Nistelrooy. Like, yeah, we're changing for the title because of Van Nistelrooy.
You know, you guys are funny, and I love this. People on YouTube are very, very funny. And let me tell you why. When I said I don't want Ten Hag, everyone said, oh, you gotta give him a chance under the new structure. Let him work with footballing people. They're gonna hire the right players for him. They're gonna hire the right coaches for him. They're gonna do this. I'm like, you know what? I don't want it, but you know what? Let me just follow you guys until I see, like, you know.
I remember you saying that. I just remember.
Now you guys are telling me if it does work out, it's not because of anything but Ten Hag. So how could
I'm not saying that.
But I need to give him a structure, but then you don't want me to credit the structure.
No, you can credit the structure, but you got to credit. You can't say, oh, it's not Ten Hag. You got to give Ten Hag credit.
I didn't say nothing. You speculated. I
know, but I'm just predicting what is going to happen. Is everyone is it's in spite of Ten Hag, and Now look, it's Van Nistelrooy. Van Nistelrooy should be the next to take on. Like, just admit, if it works out, you and the Ten Hag outers are not going to give him credit. It's going to go.
First of all, you don't know that. You speculated.
Let me ask you this.
What happens if it doesn't work out? Are you going to come out and say, I was justified to say, you know what? No matter what changes, Ten Hag is still the issue. Will you come out and say that?
Yeah, I will. I'll say, but no, I won't say you were justified into not getting behind the new regime. I'll say you were right, like that. Yeah, it hasn't worked out. It's on him. If he's given everything that he needs and it don't work out,
I just think this is about being open-minded. So I actually like what both of you have said, and there is a middle ground in this. And if this starts to work, the biggest thing I'll give Ten Hag credit for is being man enough to adjust. Because a lot of people forget the industry, people that earn the kind of money he earns in any industry, when you're at the top of that tree in £1 billion plus industry, being told to change, losing an element of power, going through what he went through, publicly having to re-interview essentially for his job, to come out the other side, take that on the chin, change your approach, and to be part of, not the key component, but part of the key component that gets you there, deserves huge credit. Now, what's interesting is that what Pep has done at Man City deserves a lot of credit. Pep's been influential, but the infrastructure of that club is amazing. What I hope happens at Man United is we do become so successful that we stop talking about who our director of football is, who is running the club internally, and we focus on the manager and the players. The reason we haven't is because we know how poorly we've been running. Ineos said one thing that was correct. Now, the biggest reason I didn't want Ten Hag to stay was not about him personally. And it was just, I felt the rebuild would be quicker without him. But I'm very open to concede the fact that if there wasn't a better candidate out there available than him, then keeping him is the better option. So I have to trust the key decision maker that I currently trust in that particular individual situation. So for me, it's very much a case of I am focused on more how we're being operated on a wider level rather than just what the manager is doing. And if we improve, he'll be a component of that, but not the only thing. Equally, if we do start winning, we challenge for the Premier League next year, hypothetical, I don't want to hear from the Ten Hag inners, see, told you this manager was the man. Yes, but not every, but you thought it'd be good no matter what went on. It was about the structure being there. And it was about that element. And I've never disagreed with it as a logical thought process that Ten Hag with a structure could also do a very good job. I've never said there's no chance, there's no way. So for me, it's a case of, I think we've got to wait to see the fruit of this labor. I think we've got to wait to see who else we sign. Obviously, you mentioned, Leny Yoro, linked to Ivan Toney. There's Zirkzee. We end up with the vast majority of these players coming in this summer. It's going to be very hard for me to control my excitement for the season, but I am gonna hold it down. I'm going to keep my powder dry until we start kicking the ball, because, as Avi said, we've got our first preseason game in 2 days, 3 days, I think, actually. Monday, but it's on Monday. But I'm just going to keep my feet firmly in the ground. I'm going to let a lot of rivals talk. I'm going to let other people speak and see what happens. I'm very calm with the very early stages. The baby steps of this rebuild have been good so far. I'm not making any crazy assertions, no crazy predictions, putting no additional pressure on this team that doesn't already exist. There's just no point. I'll let other people do the talking. If you think it's rubbish and you think it's going to fall apart, then do it. And if we're successful, I know Stafy's similar to me in this way. If I had to take the L that I was wrong about Ten Hag, but we're winning, I don't care. It's not going to ruin my YouTube channel. It's not going to ruin my career. My children are not going to stop talking to me. I just go, yeah, I'm glad we kept him. It's working. Because all I want is Man United to be better. This isn't about agendas. Equally, if after the first 3 or 4 games we're not where I want to be, doesn't mean I'm going to throw the baby out of the bathwater either. I'm going to be very balanced, and I'm standing by that. And no, that isn't toxic or positivity in any way, shape, or form. Because you wrote that before I said the last bit. I'm not going to go crazy in either direction. This whole new process is going to take time. Doesn't mean criticism shouldn't exist. I just don't believe with throwing baby out with the bathwater and sort of scorching earth every single time we can see every single time we can see the fucking goal. It's crazy.
Yeah. Twitter will be hilarious if you lose the first game of the season. It's gonna be like, see, Ten Hag. Stafy, what are you gonna do, Stafy? How are you gonna react if you lose that first game?
I'm trying to sell my preseason ticket that I'm going to in LA. I don't even want to go no more. The minute he got extended, I'm trying to sell it.
I thought you was giving it a chance. I thought you was,
Yeah, I'll give it a chance from my house. I'm not flying 6 hours to go watch.
I'll be honest with you. Performance matters. Performance matters. If we perform brilliantly, the football looks wicked, but we manage to lose 1-0, I think people will be okay. If we look like Stoke City, lose 2-0, then I can't imagine there'll be a lot of people that are going to lose their shit. The performance element is key. But we said, me and Stafy, I'm not trying to put words in his mouth. We both said from the Arsenal game onwards towards the end of last season, when Amrabat in the midfield, we made some adjustments. We were like, if we'd have performed like that for the vast majority of the season, we wouldn't have been as vehement about the manager having to go. So performance is key. Performance, I think, is your bedrock of do I see progression or not. So that for me is, it's not the result per se. It's going to be how we perform. Because if you perform in a way where you think 9 times out of 10 we're going to win playing like that, I think people will get on board. It's the performance for me that needs to be good.
100%.
But we'll see. Super chat here says England should drop Rice if he's so shit, and we'll see how things get on. Oh, I don't want to drop him. I don't want to drop him.
No one said that. No one said
drop Rice.
Emotional.
Rice suffers severely from aesthetics tax. Factually, he's progressed the ball more than any England player in the knockout stages. But I agree, Mainoo has been top. So that's a fair point. Arsenal supporter, I was in the Footy Judge Mo chat the other day. Yeah, he reckons a Rice, Merino, Odegaard midfield is good enough to win the league. Discuss. Well, that was our next talking point, gents. Was going to be very much. AFTV put this out today. There's some reports doing the rounds in Spain that Merino to Arsenal will be a deal that sort of gets formalized after the final this weekend. Thoughts on him as a player and how he would adapt to the Premier League? And look at this super chat. Would that be a good enough midfield to win the English Premier League?
I mean, technically, the midfield they have has been a good enough midfield to win the league. They didn't, because good enough doesn't always. It depends. Do you want good enough to win the league, or do you want to sign the best possible players that are gonna, make you a favorite, make you one of the top teams rather than good enough? Because I think most people agree they've been good enough. So they're going from good enough to good enough. I guess Merino is going to be a replacement for Partey, right? If I'm not mistaken, he's going to be there. Yeah. So that's an upgrade anyway. Yeah, it's an upgrade because Partey's never fit, and then they're having to make shift. He's trying to put like Havertz in there at times, and so I think it's an improvement. Is it like a drastic improvement to take that? Time will tell. Like I said, I think he's a quality player, and he is someone who can pick out a forward pass and things like that, and who can play balls into the channel. So, I think it's a decent signing. But like I said, it's not going to be if you're saying if the guy was like, yeah, that's good enough. I don't think that's the mindset they want to have.
Yeah, I don't know much about him. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I was watching Real Sociedad football last season. But from the little bits that I've seen of him in the Euros, he's been decent. And what's it called? The main thing is they need a Partey replacement, and he's going to be that player that replaces Partey in the midfield. And he's kind of experienced. Like, he's not one of these young players. I believe he's like 27, 28. So he comes in and he kind of like becomes one of the senior players already, because that Arsenal team is pretty young still. So he comes in and helps them in a position that they need strengthening in. I was talking to Dan Potts yesterday. I actually accidentally called him Dan Lawless, and he told me not to disrespect him like that again. So I think you need to have a word for him.
No, the first Dan that comes to mind.
But I was telling him, I was like, that's one area that I feel like they're weak on. They haven't spoken about much. It's all like, oh, we need a striker. Oh, we need a winger to back up Saka. Oh, they're on Calafiori. Oh, we're going for a third goalkeeper. I'm like, bro, are you guys not going to get a midfielder? Because that's the biggest issue you have. You have Jorginho and Partey in that position. You need to strengthen that position. You have Partey, who's made out of glass, and Jorginho, who was never a physical player to begin with, and his best days are behind him. So you need legs, and you need more reliability in that position. I heard people talking about Joshua Kimmich, and I'm like, what are you even talking about? Joshua Kimmich, his best position has always been right back. To bring in Kimmich to do that job in the midfield, no chance. He wouldn't do that Partey job. He's a completely different profile.
The timing of that and where the super chats come up of Logan saying I'd prefer Kimmich.
There you go. Then see, like, because they said the same thing yesterday. Pot said the same thing yesterday. He said he wanted Kimmich. I'm like, well, you don't really want Kimmich, but I don't think you need Kimmich because Kimmich is not that amazing six. Like he played as a six for Bayern. Don't get me wrong, but his best position has always been right back. So I don't think that's what they need. But yeah, if Moreno's what they're going for, I like the signing. I like the profile that he is. I don't know how much he would cost though, so maybe we'll talk about that. But yeah, it is a
25 million euros or something. I saw 25 million to 30 million euros. 25 million
30?
euros. 25 to 30 million euros.
Oh, that's a good price then. Yeah, it's a very good price. Yeah, I like that signing for them. I know it's not gonna make a lot of fans happy. I know what's gonna happen with this Arsenal fan base. So most of them are gonna glaze him, and the second half are gonna be like, "Oh, we need big names. You guys said if we get Champions League football, we can attract world-class players. He is not world-class." I already know that's gonna happen.
It's probably a signing they could have made in the Europa League. To be fair, so I do hear that.
Yeah, but are you talking about now or like a few years ago?
No, I'm saying even when they was in the Europa League like a few years ago.
I don't know because the Euro really bumps up a lot of stocks. When you look at the Spanish team as an example, a lot of stocks have went up. Nico Williams, obviously Yamal's stocks were always going up. Dani Olmo, Fabian Ruiz, pretty much everyone in that midfield stocks went up. So when you're getting one of the players that have played the best football in the Euros, and we all know they're going to go for good prices, and you're getting one of them for 30 million, I don't know. That's not the worst business in the world, in my opinion. You know, and we all know Arteta likes to sign a Spanish midfielder. You know, so I don't know. I like this signing. I like it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, you're the Arsenal fan. Tell us.
How do you feel?
Look, I'm a little bit like I don't know enough about him. Does that make sense? So it's one of those things where I'm never going to sit there and wax lyrical and say it's amazing and say it's crazy and oh my god, this is brilliant. But sometimes these types of signings, I remember when they went for Odegaard, we were all more familiar with Odegaard because of how young he was when he joined Real Madrid. But if you remove that facet of Odegaard, if he would have always been at Real Madrid or hadn't been bought as like a 14, 15-year-old and wasn't a prodigy, and you sort of, Arsenal are loaning some guy that was at Madrid that never plays for them. He's gone, I think he went Sociedad himself, didn't he? But like he went Sociedad, then he came here on loan. You'd have been relatively underwhelmed by it as an example. There are a lot of people that felt spending £100 million on Declan Rice was an absolute waste of money because he was an overhyped, bang average English football player. There's many that thought Saliba was rubbish. That's why he was loaned for the first few years. The laughter at Arsenal when they spent £50 million on Ben White is now comical when you look back at it. They were ridiculed for going after David Raya. Doesn't mean every single signing has come off. I just don't the vast majority of first team players that Arsenal have signed have done quite well in the last 3 or 4 years. Fabio Vieira hasn't reached the levels, but he was never a first team player that came in. He's probably the one expensive signing where you go, hasn't really quite done it. You could maybe look at the Gabriels and the Zinchenko's, but I almost feel there's an element there that the Arsenal team has almost grown so quickly, they've almost gone beyond those players rather than not being successful. So I'm not going to sit here and slag the player off because I'm not particularly familiar with him. But speaking to a few people that watch the Liga regularly, a lot of people think he's more important to Real Sociedad than Zubimendi. So I'm only getting by people that watch that league regularly and have more knowledge than me. And like in life, you can only really be educated by the people that know more than you. And they're like, it's a good deal for Arsenal. He's more important to Real Sociedad than X, Y, and Z. There may just not be the hype around him as an example. So do I look at it and go, wow, it's groundbreaking, it makes Arsenal scary or more potent? No. But is that just because I don't know much about the player? Potentially. But potentially that's what it is. But everyone's going to know who he is after this link, whether Arsenal get him or not, because his name's been now thrown out into the media. So you might probably see a lot more attention. If this time next year, Liverpool are buying him, or West Ham are buying him, or United are, everyone will say, well, he must be good. Arsenal were linked to him last year. So yeah, I'm really indifferent about it, if that makes sense. I get why people would want Kimmich, because we know who he is and we know more about him and everything else. But There's a lot of good reports about Merino. So we'll see how it plans out. There's not a lot of talk coming out of Arsenal at the minute. And there are some reports that they may not go for another attacker. What do you all make of that? Should that be an area of priority, in your opinion, for Arsenal, an attacker?
Well, I mean, yeah, I feel like we've had this conversation a few times about, you know, how much goals they've scored last season and do they really need a striker? But I still think, like I said, if you're complacent in that area, you can't just constantly rely on getting multiple goals from different positions on the pitch. Yep, you know, if they're continuing to be good on set pieces, I don't think you often see teams go from season on season being like the best set piece team. You look at West Ham, you look at Liverpool when we were up there, we dropped down massively. You just from a sustainability standpoint, I still think they should have a focal point up there, like a really solid focal point. Everyone's saying, "Oh, Havertz was decent last season. You know, he can only get better." That's in theory. We haven't seen that from Havertz really in his career since coming to the Premier League. So, I think if I was them, I would try and go out and get a forward. But if they don't, it's not the end of the world. They just need to make sure them other positions they're signing are top quality. Do you know what I mean? It's fine, Merino, yeah, fine signing, but you don't want to fill the whole squad with those sorts of signings. You need to start to get big quality.
Who are these attackers?
Oh, isn't that funny? Isn't it funny, Stafy? Because when we ask you these questions about managers, I'm not a scout. I don't get paid all this money to go and scout their players and scout their managers, and I haven't got access. Isn't that what you say? And now you're turning it around on me.
All right. So I was asking a genuine question, by the way. I wasn't trying to catch you out.
No, but I'm just
asking someone. But you have an opinion about them needing to sign strikers, and I like to think that we know more players than we do know managers, because every squad has about 26 players, whereas it has one manager. So there's more players out there. It was a genuine question.
No,
I just want to know, who do you rate? Because I've heard a lot of Arsenal fans saying, this is where I was leading up to, but I'll remember this, Lawless. Don't worry about it.
No, but when we ask you about what manager you get, that's a genuine question as well.
But managers is different than players. It's completely different. Listen, I could say sack a manager because he's doing a bad job, and if your counter is like, but who do you replace? It's different than you saying, oh, this team needs to get a striker. But then I'm asking, okay, like give me one or two. And I feel like there's more access to players than that. But anyways, the reason I was asking that.
So I would say Watkins, like throw the money, get a.
See, so why did you say that from the beginning? No, why did you say that? I just so defensive.
I just wanted to troll you because of what you say when we say what manager would you get. I just wanted to that was my chance. That was my time to shine and throw that back in your face. But Watkins, even though these players are Watkins and Isak, they're going to be expensive, they're going to be hard to get. Apparently, Watkins is an Arsenal player, which the Arsenal fans were quick to point out when he scored that goal. Like they got some sort of achievement. But you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, that can have a factor in it. If they're approaching Watkins and he supports the club, they see what they've been doing in challenging for the league, and he can be a big part of that. And he knows like he's going to be likely to start because let's be honest, he's better than Havertz. Go out and put the pressure on and get him. Yeah, just because it might Villa won't want to sell, it's going to be difficult. Don't mean you go, we probably won't get him. Do you know what I mean? You know what they say, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So go for an Isak or a Watkins. If they get one of them players in, I honestly would turn around and put them favourites to the league. I
don't think they'll sign Watkins, and I'll tell you why. Number one, I don't think Arteta even wants Watkins. I still think he wants Havertz. I've said it all year. I said he will be here next year, even though people said they need a striker.
He wants Havertz over Watkins. Jeez.
He loves Havertz. He just, for what he wants from his striker, he's using Havertz. Secondly, Villa just sold Douglas Luiz, and they're about to sell Moussa Diaby to Saudi Arabia for about 60 mil. So they already made their money, and they made Champions League money. So they don't really need to sell. So that I highly, highly, highly doubt they'll sell Watkins to anyone. Secondly,
if the player puts the pressure on, that's what I'm saying. If they get player pressure to come in and they, like
that would be distasteful of him, wouldn't it? Because like
Grealish did it, and he was like their academy boy. He was Mr. Villa. If Grealish can do it, Surely Watkins can do it.
Yeah, no, but like they just made Champions League, so it just to me just seems very weird that like after like the good season that they had, and they're strengthening rather than anything, and they already made their money. I highly doubt that they're gonna sell their best players. Douglas Luiz was a little bit different because him and his girl were trying to move to UV anyways. But
Yeah,
it's like
boy.
I don't even think they need a Watkins, and I said this to some Arsenal fans before, and I stand on that. If anything, they probably need a left winger. I don't think you need a striker, and there's no strikers out there that score 30 goals a season. Everyone's like, oh, go get me a 30 goal a season striker. Did you see the state of the strikers in the Euros, by the way? This is probably the worst Euros in terms of strikers that I've ever seen. We have 8 players tied for the Golden Boot. Most of them are not even strikers.
I don't think that's because of the players, though. I think that's because of the approaches to the games, though, that teams have been making. It's been a lot more cagey.
Yeah, but no one stood out. Like there's a lot of standout players, but name me one standout striker. Mbappe, bad tournament. Kane, funny enough, Kane has 4 goals, but no one even thinks he had a good tournament. So it's crazy that he might win the Golden Boot, but everyone thinks, hey, maybe we should drop him for the final. I've never heard of anything like that before. It just shows you how bad his season has been. Then you look at who else. Morata, who has the most goals in internationals after Ronaldo in this Euro. He scored like what, 1 goal? I don't even remember if he scored a goal or not. Ronaldo obviously stunk it out. Lukaku stunk it out. Bro, there's no standout strikers right now. There's really not. This is why
I don't think that's an indication of the market of strikers. Say yes, look, there's no.
But that's what I'm saying. There's no 30-goal strikers season striker out there for everyone who says like the one that you want to get is like what Watkins and Isak. And let's just be honest, no one is paying that amount of money for them. This is why you're seeing everyone linked with the likes of Sesko and Zirkzee and all these players, because we're like everyone's trying to find like, okay, like who's the next 30-goal a season striker, I should say. Even though like I don't think Zirkzee will be that, but like he has the potential to be a very good striker. That's what I'm trying to say. Sesko was the same thing, So everyone's trying to look for like young, good upcoming strikers or the next striker up, because like the market of strikers right now, there's none of these 30-goal strikers that everyone's talking about. I feel like people were just saying it, but they're not actually checking the stats. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't see who this attacker is. I don't think Arsenal, after scoring 100-something goals last season, look at their squad and they're like, you know what, we're missing next season. We miss a goal scorer. Like, no, you scored the second most goals in the league after City.
Yeah,
you didn't lose the league because
where they need to be careful. Sorry, Stafy, I didn't mean to interject. I think where they've got to be careful is that you drop £100 million on a player that doesn't elevate you to that next level, and then when that said person that could elevate you is available, you don't have the funds for it because you've invested in somebody that isn't quite up to the task. But I still think they might go back in for the Gyökeres. That's still. I feel like Arsenal are just being very cagey and very quiet with the business that they're doing. When the Calafiori deal first came out, it was low-level Italian press speaking about it. No mainstream media outlets were, and then suddenly Fabrizio and Ornstein spoke about it. Outside of that deal, it's been very, very, very quiet for Arsenal thus far. I don't think that's because they're not going to do any business. I think it's because they're keeping their cards very, very close to their chest. But I do think they need an attacker of some sort. I don't think it has to be a number 9. I think it needs to try and add some more goals and competition in that area. There's a comment here that says Merino ranks high in progressive passes and massively high in aerial duels won, weirdly. Not bad in the tackle either. Not much of a dribbler, though. Yeah, I mean, he's not coming in to be a dribbler. Merino is actually Xhaka's replacement, not Thomas Partey.
See, that's what I said. I don't really know much about him, so I didn't really want to speak a lot about him. But I just knew they needed midfield depth anyways. But I appreciate this. By the way, I don't know if you just saw it, but breaking news, Sancho's actually back with the first team training. So Ten Hag has allowed him back in the team, so we'll see what happens there.
I think it's best for him if he goes to Dortmund, man. I wouldn't be surprised if he wants that. He seems so happy.
That one is done. They even gave away the number 10 already.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, they gave it to what's his name, Brent. So that number 10 is gone. They're not coming back for him. Actually, and maybe we need to talk about this. Juve's trying to do a swap deal to get Sancho and give us Chiesa. I don't know how people feel about this.
I feel like Chiesa, since that knee injury, just hasn't been Chiesa.
I think he's hyped up, if I'm being honest with you.
The thing is, with the Sancho situation, it's interesting now he's back in training. because he weren't allowed back until he apologized. Has he apologized? If so, why? Or have Ineos come in and said, we are deading this. It's over. You shouldn't have spoken about something that was a training issue. You shouldn't have put out that stupid tweet. You're both fucking idiots. Get on with your jobs. I kind of hope it's a little bit of that, like knocking their heads together and say, we've got this talent who, I mean, some will say he didn't really do that well at Dortmund because Dortmund didn't want him. No, I don't think Dortmund can afford him personally. That's why I think it boils down to they've got the money for him. So I hope it's that. And listen, I still, if Sancho stays and delivers, you won't see anyone happier than me. I don't want him to foul. I don't want him to not work out.
No, I will be happy. You know, I will be happy.
No, listen, I'll be happy if he makes it. I'll be happy if any player makes it.
But I think this, and I actually have a twist on this. I actually think that Ineos, you said they came in and probably they tried to dead it right away. I agree with you, but I don't think this is just because they want to keep him. I think Ineos, they're smart enough to know, like, listen, even if we're not going to keep certain players, we need to get the max money out of the players that we already know we don't want. We just we don't want the whole world to know that we don't want certain players. Greenwood is a different example. Like Greenwood, I think for moral reasons, they couldn't take him back and have like he came back to Carrington the other day just so they can discuss his future and his selling, not because they're going to give him a chance to train and all that. Whereas like I feel like it's Sancho because it's much simpler compared to what Greenwood did. It's more of going to be like, listen, Toney, we get it. You don't want him. Yeah, he didn't apologize. We need him to train. We need him back in this team. So even if we sell him in the summer, we don't look like we're desperate selling him. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather look like I'm trying to keep him and sell him for good money than to make it desperate and out there that I want to sell him and you're getting nothing for him. And I think for business reasons, they needed to do that. I actually don't think he'll play next season.
You will make a massive loss on him, though. I do think.
Either way, it's a loss because his performances haven't been good. But there's a difference between selling him because like he just hasn't been good and selling him because the manager fell out with him and everyone knows there's like a cultural issue between him and the locker room or him and the manager, something like that. You know, like you'll still make more money off him if he doesn't have an issue with the manager. If he plays all preseason and then comes in a bid from Juve at the end of the summer for 40 mil, that is better than just desperately selling him before preseason starts because you left him at home and everyone went to America to play. And now someone's going to come in with a 25, 30 mil. And there you go. You
40 mil is what I think you get for him, like you said.
I completely and utterly agree with that. I really, really do. But boys, we are at the end of the show now. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to say a big thank you to the boys on the panel. We are going to be back tomorrow with more content for you as we build up to the final, transfer news, and whatever else is going on. This video is going to take you through to FHM, so go check out their video that's coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. Stafy, Lawless, always a pleasure, boys, to sit and speak football with the two of you every Friday. Until next time, take care, goodbye, God bless, and hopefully, it's